First question is from Matt Hoffheimer. That's at Matt Hoffy2. If Matthew Stafford is not back as a Ram, who are some of the teams that would have an interest in making a move for him? Now, first, let me lay out the landscape here a little bit. I don't think it's a sure thing that Matthew Stafford is going to be available. I think the coaches would love to keep him there. However, it was a difficult negotiation during the 2024 offseason. It took about 6 months for them to find some middle ground and strike a deal. And what they did was basically set it up to create a crossroads after the 24 season. So they moved $5 million forward in his deal, borrowing $4 million from 25 and another $1 million from 26 to do it, guaranteeing all of his money in 24 and then removing any guarantees from 2025. So now he's making $4 million less than he was originally scheduled to make in 25, and he has no guaranteed money left on his deal. So the sides have to go back to the table and renegotiate this. And really, it's going to come down to what Matthew Stafford wants and how much the Rams are willing to spend. And then whether or not Matthew Stafford is going year to year now. The Rams have a much younger team than they had a couple of years ago. And they look like they're going to be ready to contend for a while with players on that roster. Like, we can go down the list: Puka Nacua, Steve Avila, Kyron Williams, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner. It is a roster that looks like it's set up to win for the next 5 or 6 years, to contend for the next 5 or 6 years. So does that match up with a quarterback who may be at the part of his career where he's going year to year? And if somebody's willing to offer them a first-round pick, then would that be something that would entice the Rams to move? My phone is ringing here. I will take that later. Would that be something that would entice the Rams to move? I think it certainly could be something that would entice the Rams to move. So who would be interested? I think you got to look at teams that are either ready to win now or have coaches that are fighting for their jobs. And I think 3 teams in particular really stand out to me as teams that should have an interest in Matthew Stafford. The first one, the most obvious one to me, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've got TJ Watt, who's turning 31. You've got Minka Fitzpatrick, who's turning 29. You've got an offensive line situation that finally appears like it's being fixed. You've got an intriguing young skill position player in George Pickens. And you've got a coaching staff that I think has the sort of experience and know-how and chops to compete deep into the playoffs. The one thing they're missing, the one thing they have been missing, is a quarterback. So going and getting Matthew Stafford would make some sense to me. It would feel a little bit like, if you want to go back a generation, when they brought in Tommy Maddox to try to get themselves up to a contending level. Now, of course, Stafford's much better than Maddox, but you remember them doing that after they felt like they couldn't go forward with Cordell Stewart a generation ago. They make some sense. The Giants make some sense as well. The Giants, of course, Brian Daboll and Joe Shane and everybody else, they're going to be fighting for their jobs in 2025. I also think the Giants are a little closer than people give them credit for. When you look at their roster, Andrew Thomas, Malik Neighbors on the offensive side of the ball. The defense has some real studs up front: Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau. So, look, I don't think the Giants are that far off from being a real contender. They could be a team that could say, okay, like, that's the piece that puts us over the top. And then maybe the Cleveland Browns. The financial part of this would make it a little bit complicated because they're still dealing with the Watson contract. But if they really wanted to go all in, Stafford would be the sort of guy that they would go all in on. I think that they would be more looking at an opportunity with an offset, which Stafford doesn't have the offset situation that, and obviously you have to give up draft capital to go get him. Like, Kirk Cousins might fit a little bit better in Cleveland, but if money were no object, Cleveland would certainly be a place that would look like one that would be intriguing on both sides. So those would be the 3 teams I'd give you right now: the Giants, the Steelers, and the Browns.